today on Let's Talk About It, we will discuss marriage, all those ups and downs, and then later my friend George Bell will join us. I mean, it's only fair to have a man's perspective on marriage too, right? Before getting into our question of the day, I wanted to share a couple things with you. First, we're going to look at this fun video on marriage because even though marriage can be hard, it's always fun to have a good laugh.
We're Chet and Susanna Baines. As marriage experts, we specialize in home modifications, which will help you improve the feng shui of your marriage.
Because home is where the heart is, we update, construct, and remodel your nightmare and flip it into the marriage of your dreams. We are
The Marriage Fixer-Uppers.
So guys, tell me exactly what's been going on.
I feel like he shuts down and never wants to talk about how he's feeling.
Oh yeah. We're gonna tear down that wall. Really open it up in here.
Perfect. That's what I want.
She doesn't understand the pressures I have at work. It's a lot to bear, and I have to do it on my own.
You definitely have a load-bearing issue, that's for sure. But don't worry.
Huh. Where's that stud?
Exactly. Where's the stud I married? The one that
Here we
pursued
go
me?
again, talking about how I've let myself go.
I
You know how many
didn't
wads
say
I do?
that.
I do like
You
3
let
wads.
your
You're gonna have
mouth
to get started right away.
Hey! Huh, looks like you got shiplap under here. You know, your marriage is kind of like this new light fixture I just installed. No, it's actually like this light bulb. You get what I'm saying?
Are you saying I need a new light bulb?
What? No. Your marriage just needs a little spark.
Are you even an electrician?
No, it's just anecdotal marriage analogies. That's what counts.
What in the world is that?
Those are the new his and her toilets. You see, marriage is about opening up and sharing everything together. We like to call it sharing our marriage bowels. A couple that goes together grows together. So guys, we don't have a lot of money left in the budget.
It's starting to sound a little bit like our marriage. Am I right? No.
But with the leftover money, you have one of 3 options to choose. Number 1, we have a beautiful walk-in closet for the master bedroom. Here we have a man cave with theater seating.
That one sounds good to me.
Just like you to think about yourself.
Oh, come on, guys. This is about talking, listening, making a decision together.
And number 3, a brand new in-ground swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a nice compromise.
Why is Chet shirtless?
Well, I have a pool company, too. Just got my chest waxed.
Walk-in closet sounds great.
Are you guys ready to see the latest addition to your lovely home?
Yeah.
They are sure to bring this marriage back to good.
Ta-da! What is this?
It's a dog. Hey. See, nothing brings a couple closer together than having a common purpose, like being able to take care of a dog. Gets you more responsibility when it comes to taking care of the kids.
The kids? No! Whose kids are these?
You can't be serious.
Oh, hey, don't worry. We're turning John's office into a guest suite, so when the in-laws come to move in, everything will be taken care of.
You got rid of my office?
Oh, come on, like you ever did any work in there.
Not now, Brooke.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting again.
Oh, no!
I told you guys you weren't ready for kids.
These aren't our kids.
Well, it looks like our work is done here. Good job, honey.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
The last thing I'd like to share with you is a verse that speaks volumes when it comes to our marriages. And I'm sure that you've even heard it at a wedding before, but I wanted to take the time today to share it again. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, "Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. This entire chapter is often referred to as the love chapter, and I encourage you to take the time to read through it. But the part that I read today is the part that I really want you to focus in on. You see, when it comes to loving others, specifically our spouse, there are traits that we must imitate or copy from how we see Jesus act and behave in the Bible. First and foremost, he is love, and he has shown us what that looks like. He is patient with us, and we need to be patient also. He is kind in everything that he does, and we must also be kind. He is not irritable or resentful, and guess what? We should not become irritable or resentful either in our life or in our marriage. These traits, as we take them on, will surely produce a marriage and a home that is a loving, peaceful, joyful place to be. What traits may you need some work on? What may be lacking that you say, hey, God, I need help in this area? When we come back, we're going to talk about our marriages, the good and the bad. Just three ladies with big opinions, always backed by a godly standpoint. So hey, let's talk about it.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back, ladies. I'm so excited to get back together, and today we're diving into a tough question again about marriages. How they're, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're a little bit tough, right? And I just wanted to start with Arlene because, well, she's been married the longest, so hopefully she has some really good advice for us. Arlene, what do you do when you feel you can't connect with your husband, or you feel like you're fighting more, or the communication is lacking? What do we do?
You know what? I have been married 40 years. I cannot even believe it. I mean, I was 10 when I got married, so obviously I'm only 50.
That's right.
John and I had decided early on we were never going to mention divorce. Now, we have both thought of murder multiple times, but we have never mentioned divorce. It has been an interesting journey for both of us. He comes from a non-traditional family where he was raised by a single mother. And I have two parents who are still married to each other. Isn't it interesting how God chose marriage? He takes two people from completely different backgrounds, puts them together and says, hey, make this work. And what we have realized, we tell people all the time, do not look for the right person. Become the right person.
Wow, yep. I like that.
I like that too.
Become the right person. Because if I am seeking after God,
right,
I will become the wife that I need to be for John. It still is not perfect because we are people, we're human beings, and we both struggle with different things. John, especially early on, would tend to brush things under the rug and not talk about it. And I would just say, blah, I want to talk about everything. And we had to learn a balance with that. I give him time to process, and then there are times he just lets me talk it out, knowing that there's nothing we can fix or that he can fix, because men tend to be fixers. But he knows I just want him to listen. I honestly, and we laugh all the time. We laugh at each other a lot. We have good senses of humor. If you cannot laugh at yourself, if you cannot laugh at each other, you're being way too serious. Way too serious. And we've had a lot of good years. We have had 40 good, growing, learning, maturing years. Yeah, I honestly love that man more now than I did 40 years ago.
Wow.
I I adore him. Yeah.
Teresa, how about you?
You know, I feel the same way you do. Here's the thing. Yeah, when I first met John, it was definitely probably it was love, but I feel like it was more lust than love. And 31 years later, it's definitely a much deeper love, and it's a love that I choose. I choose it every single day. It's not like, I always say your kids, it's an inherent love. Like, I never have to work to love my kids.
Yeah.
I have to work. And the opposite is true for me. He has to pick me every day.
Right.
And he does. And I'm lucky for that. I'm very lucky for that. But
I love that. He chooses you
He chooses
every
you.
day.
Right.
well, we
I
all
love
know
that.
that there's
I love
many
that.
women out there that
That's
are
right.
much skinnier and more beautiful and probably keep their mouth closed more. But he picks me in all my
love that.
imperfections, and I pick him in all his imperfections. And like you said, we make it work. And we have a lot of fun making it work. I don't have a problem not communicating. I over communicate, so that it can be an issue all of its own.
Yeah, communication I don't think is a big issue for my husband and I. We've been almost married 20 years now. Communicating, I think we do talk things out. And one thing I do love actually is we'll talk about, we lead Bible studies, so we'll talk about what God's doing in them or what our dreams are. Or just so communication hasn't ever, I don't feel, been an issue. There's been other things, but communication hasn't been one of them. One thing that I've learned in the journey is that, one, we're total opposites. Total opposites. I mean, he's the calm and the peace, and I'm the, and so, we have a lot to deal with on that, but thankfully, he is the calm and the peace, because if we had two of me, it would not work, so thankfully God understood that and put us together. But one thing I've really learned is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the 5 Love Language book. The 5 Love Language is so important to understand what his love language is, because it's usually not yours.
Absolutely.
Like, his is words of affirmation, and I couldn't be further away from that. Like, that's probably one of my last ones. So there are times when I have to actually be intentional, be like, oh, he's words of affirmation. I need to say something to affirm him.
That's really good to learn too.
It is, and I was so glad when I read that book. And I actually enjoyed reading that book, and it helped me understand why I do some of the things I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And don't you feel like too, there are times with John and I, if we're going through a struggle, whether it's a family struggle, a work struggle, whatever, I'll have an off day, he'll have an on day. He'll have an off day, I'll have an on day. We balance each other out that way.
I have more off days and he has more on days.
That's really helpful. That's really helpful. But I think God blesses us that way, that usually we're not both down or having an off day at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And we go through different seasons.
I feel like the same way about the on day, off day. If we both have an off day at the same time, there is a heaviness
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
that I cannot stand, and it's hard to break it. There's been some very extreme circumstances in our life where we both had an off day, and it was a very desolate place to be.
Yeah.
So I always feel like it's better if one's down, the other one needs to be up to help
That's right.
the other one rise.
That's right.
Kind of like when we fall together, it's just never a good situation.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely.
And God's so gracious in that, isn't he? And
He is.
He sure is. He sure is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gracious enough that I'm still alive, because I over communicate. I have a bit of a temper sometimes, and I just I'll share this because it cracks me up. It was years ago, but I was at the stove cooking. I woke up feeling like, and I'm cooking breakfast, and he's behind me, and I can hear him breathing. And it's
You're breathing wrong.
It's on my nerves.
Yes.
And I'm like, why is this on your nerves? I don't know, but it's on my nerves.
Yeah.
And I said, are you okay? Like, he knew I was being snarky. What do you mean, am I okay? I said, the way you're breathing. And he goes, what do you want me to do, Teresa? Stop breathing? And I knew right then, I'm like, you know what, Teresa, you're off today,
Yeah.
and you need to just shut up.
Yeah.
Or say it. Say, I am off today, and my nerves are shot.
Yeah.
And,
And honestly, that is something I had to learn, is admitting it.
Yes.
Say,
Yeah, I'm
you know
not good
what?
at that.
I don't know what's wrong with me today, but if I say something against you, it is not you. It is totally on me today. And he realizes now, give her some space today.
Mm-hmm.
Give her some space. And so I have had to learn to say, something's wrong with me today.
I need to learn that.
Okay, we can teach you.
Please help me, because I have a lot of days when and he's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm,
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yes.
Quit breathing.
Don't breathe.
Quit chewing like that. Well, marriages can be hard, but marriages can be a lot of fun. And I hope that, whatever marriage you're in, that you just connect first to the source, God, and let him lead you and direct you in all your ways.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Well, welcome back. And today we have a special guest, our first man on the show.
Yay, George.
George Bell. And the reason I wanted a man on our show today is because it's not fair to only hear from a woman about marriage.
Yep.
We got to hear what a man thinks about marriage. And I think George is the perfect guest for that. But before we get into the question, George, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Kelly. Corey, regarding marriage, Corey and I have been married 42 years. Okay, we got married in 1980. Wow. And I know sometimes people talk about conflict in marriage, right? Well, the day after we got married, Mount St. Helens blew up.
Wow. Wow.
So when we kind of maybe that was prophetic, I don't know, because our marriage early on was awesome, but it was rocky because we were two strong personalities. And but anyway, we made it through 42 years into just a wonderful time of as we in our golden years.
Yeah.
4 children, 7 grandchildren.
Oh, 7.
Only one lives nearby. Aaron lives in State College, but the rest are around the world. So doing their jobs and
Very blessed,
raising their family.
Blessed family.
Very blessed.
Yeah.
Very blessed. And I attribute it mostly to my wife. I mean, I was not home much, and she was there and raised them. So
That's awesome.
very, very glad.
So now we're going to dig into what marriage looks like from a man's perspective. When you guys are in those moments of fighting or not knowing how to communicate, things seem to be lacking. How do you handle it?
Well, thankfully, those aren't often. But when they happen, they're significant. And so typically, it's an insensitivity on one or the other's part. Perhaps not seeing things from their perspective.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Corey confronts me with something that's irritating her, or she wants to bring something to my attention, I should say, often I'll get defensive.
Right away.
Yep.
Right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just happened this morning. There was a little thing she brought up to me, just the way I said something, which my heart was good, but she suggested I would, honey, you might want to say this a different way. And what do you mean? What are you talking about? So, well, this is, and then she explained it, and thankfully there was grace. I said, oh, okay, I get it, hon. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's taken us 42 years to get to that point. But a lot of times I'll get defensive and want to, and defend my position, and then things escalate.
Right.
And then, the proverbs say about, if you churn the milk, it becomes butter. If you wring the nose, it becomes blood. And so if you churn the argument, strife, there's going to be an argument.
Absolutely.
And that's, we have to remind ourselves about that. But
Yeah.
But so there's not many, but when they happen, they're usually significant. But here's the thing: I would rather have it that way than have ignoring, a passive aggressive kind of
Absolutely.
Just kind of
Amen.
cut
That's
Corey
right.
off, or she cuts me off, and it's just, we're pretty passionate, so we don't really do that, but we see that happen in people, and then there's a coldness. And
That's right.
A distance.
a distance. I'd rather have the passion, the fire, and like, going through some rocky times every once in a while, and not have coldness and apathy. And
Right. That's
So
good.
That
That's
is
good.
really
yeah,
good.
that's good. I love it.
So being married 42 years, if you were to give advice to a younger man who's just getting married, what would be some tips you might give them?
okay, there's so much that I had to learn, and I came from a real kind of dysfunctional background. Corey came from a really solid family, and I came from one where there was 2 alcoholic parents, functional parent, but a lot of strife, a lot of contention. Didn't see Dad show a lot of affection. So I didn't have a lot of modeling from that end as a young man. But when I gave my life to the Lord in a radical way as a teenager, so it was like night and day kind of thing. In the church, you saw older men and how they were affectionate with their wives. And, and that was a model. But when you get married, see, a lot of times young guys, you're thinking about the physical relationship, and that's a blessing, but that's not. If that's the focus, it's just not going to work. And so, especially as you get older, because your bodies change, but I'll tell you what, as you love each other, the beauty. I mean, I think Corey's more beautiful now than we got married. I mean, there's just God gives us an eye for our spouse's beauty. But getting back to your question, what do you do? The thing that really, we survived, did well in our marriage, raised kids till around 1999, and we were still doing well. But our son Matt went off to the military, and we had to say goodbye to him. We wept the whole way back on the turnpike from Harrisburg, and we were just like crushed. We were getting ready for the empty nest. We had 3 more to go, but we started to pray because I started to travel then in my job, and I was leaving. So I said, "Honey, let's just pray." Corey might have suggested it to me. I can't remember, but anyway, we started having a little quiet time every morning. First thing in the morning, we'd get up, say a little prayer, get in the Word. I'd go on my way. It has morphed into now as we're older, we're not off to work and whatnot. Much more intense, like personal Bible reading, and then intercessory prayer for the nations, for our family. Together, yes. Oh, yes, Arlene, together.
Okay.
It has, I don't like to say it saved our marriage because our marriage wasn't on the rocks, but it has enhanced. And the arguing just came down. Wow. It's real hard to be arguing with someone when you're praying. So I would suggest having a family altar, honestly.
I love that.
And it's hard to do.
I love that.
It's hard to do because of scheduling, especially if both people work. And but if you just carve out time somewhere in the day, before you go to bed, first thing in the morning, sometime. And here's the other thing. When I did a lot of traveling, so I would call her, even on time zones. Like if it's 6:30, 5:30 here, it might have been 3:30 where I was. I'd say, "Honey, can I call you at 8:30 your time?" And 6:30. So we would work it out. So we'd have just a few minutes just to touch base and do that spiritual warfare and cover
I hear you
each other.
saying too that you made time for what was most important.
Yes, Arlene.
Because there's always excuses.
Yes, absolutely.
Travel, kids, busy, work, whatever.
Yeah.
You made time for what was most important, which I think people do it with exercise. But we say, "Oh, I don't have time." You made time for what was important. You valued your relationship with God.
Yeah.
Right.
Which makes you value your relationship with each other.
Right.
And that's so key because we love God more than we love each other.
That's right.
And that's when we get in arguments, we remember the covenant we made with the Lord and the shame we bring to Him if this microcosm of Christ in the church isn't working right. So it's the fear of God, that keeps me, say a divorce thought would come in or like, "I'm just leaving." There was times when I'd be so mad, I'd just walk out. But the Spirit of the Lord gets a hold of you and say, "You know what, George, you made a covenant before witnesses." And so the fear of God, "So honey, please forgive me. I was a jerk." And that's the other thing, just asking each other's forgiveness. Being the first, even if you think you were right, which you always do. right?
Sure.
Always right, always right. And
I can see that. I can see you're always right.
but not like say, happy wife, happy life. Just kind of like that. It's kind of like a past. That talk about past. That's kind of like cliche. And no, she's your covenant partner, and you are responsible men. Here's the other thing: men are responsible. They're the leaders of the home,
Right.
and oftentimes we usurp that, and we see the church becoming feminized because men have kind of like punted to the women. Because I don't want to be bothered. I'm such a sinner. God couldn't use me. But I was just reading in Exodus this week about the Jews in the wilderness when the manna. Moses told the men to collect the manna. It wasn't the women to collect the manna. So the men, we should be manna men. We should be the men. The men should be the ones doing the spiritual feeding. And I find when I do that, now Corey's a woman of the word, and I learned from her. But I set the tone. Now, when she asked me a question, I said, I don't know. Here we go again. I don't do that. I mean, if I did that, they should shut down. But I'm honored that she would ask me a question and not necessarily have to go to the pastor or somebody else that, or listen to some video or something like that. She comes to me, but that's because she has a respect for it. And so, but I really think men have to set the tone in the home.
Well, I love that, and I thank you so much for sharing that because, yes, men do set the tone. God sets the first tone. As we seek Him, our marriages can flourish and thrive. Thank you for joining us with that question.
Let's Talk About It is a Joy in the City production.
Joy in the City is a program highlighting people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and dysfunction in our culture, but we are coming with a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. Be sure to join us Sunday at 12:30 p.m. on ABC 23.
Hey everyone, on episode 1 we talked about the importance of reading God's Word, and it has inspired me to read the entire Bible in a year. Yep, there's no better time than the present to get started. So here I am, 18 days in and only 347 more to go. But I wanted to share with you the plan that I chose and why I chose it, and maybe you might be inspired to join me on this journey of understanding God's Word. I chose the Bible Recap by D Group for a few reasons. First, it's in chronological order, which we talked about and how interesting that would be. And second, it has short videos before each section to explain a few things before you get started. And the one really cool thing I love is this reading plan is connected to the Bible Recap podcast, where Tara Lee Cobble does a 5 to 10 minute recap on the chapters you've already read, and then she points out more important moments to help you understand the word more and to help kind of intertwine it as your journey continues. I will post instructions on how to download the reading plan and podcast on the Let's Talk About It Facebook page for anyone who wants to join me on this journey. I have grown and learned so much already, and I'm excited to share this opportunity with you. And as Tara Lee Cobble ends every podcast with these words, so I leave them with you as well. God is where the joy is.